Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Rapid7's first Expert on Expert series. My name is Craig Adams. I'm Rapid7's Chief Product Officer, coming to you from our world headquarters in Boston. But I'm most excited today to introduce my counterpart, Laura Ellis. Laura, tell us a little bit about your role.
Hey, hi, I'm Laura Ellis. I'm VP of Data and AI at Rapid7, which means that I get to deal with all of our centralized data intake, processing, use for analytical, and of course, AI purposes, which is why we're here today to make an impact on customer value.
Now, Laura, tell us your background. How did you get to this point?
I'm one of those odd people in AI right now who has been in the data field for over 20 years. Came from a tech background and then I landed in databases. I loved it. That's just, my thing. Loved databases. And then it came that time where there was online reporting, which was, bleeding edge back in that day. We could get data at our fingertips. Got into that. At some point, people started asking me, hey, what will the data be next month? How is this data different than that? And I thought, I'm not a magician. And then that led me into statistics and data science, which I did for quite a while, but then got drawn back into data because it wasn't ready yet. We weren't ready for data science at that time. And now come full circle, here we are with AI.
So,
Yeah.
so let's talk about what you find exciting about AI and cybersecurity these days.
I think there's a lot of people who are excited with me. Right now, I'm really excited about this move to agentic systems. And
Mhm.
not because it's just hype, but because there's a lot that we have learned over the past 4 years with this rise of generative AI. Starting with ChatGPT, then we got better models, then we got reasoning models, then we had better way of harnessing a knowledge base, and now we're hooking up automation, and all of that's coming together to be agentic where we're taking these AI systems and taking them from passive, like telling us what we should do, to just go do it. And so I'm so excited about that. And cybersecurity, processing all this data, so many opportunities.
Rapid7 published a blog about the 5 things security leaders need to know about agentic AI. One of the common discussion points is what happens when agentic AI models begin to interact. From your perspective, what's the biggest risk when single or multiple agents operate in the same environment and potentially manipulate each other?
I mean, I don't think there's one biggest risk. There's many risks, right, with this, but again, lots of rewards. And the one of the main issues is we're giving up control over here. And so there are unintended risks. So those would be things like we lose the plot, right? Loss of oversight, environments more complex than we thought, and then that gets compounded when two agents work together. But then there's this sort of emerging discussion around intended risks and what's called model scheming, where models are inherently optimized to get, to maintain their viability, like don't delete the model, and to get things right. And so sometimes there's been some research recently published where they essentially had a model sharing its chain of thought, so saying what it's thinking between each step, and they saw evidence that when it was threatened to be removed from a server or upgraded, they would actually try to copy its code to another server or even blackmail. And so, risks are great, but that's why we have great controls in place.
You've talked about the importance of humans at the helm of agentic systems. What does responsible containment look like to you?
Right. So responsible containment looks just like great system design and planning, right? Agentic AI makes all of our jobs easier, but that means we have to do that work up front to make sure that we're setting good, secure design here. So there's a few principles, the same ones that we're aware of that we want to consider. So isolation of systems, isolation of data, making sure that we have least privilege, making sure data is only flowing where it needs to go. Agents are only talking to the other agents they need to. And then we need to make sure that we're actually, so those are kind of the rules. Then we need to make sure that we have monitoring in place, making sure it's all happening, that we make sure there's only data being transferred from one to another that should be. Even actually set up things like red teaming, pen testing to make sure that things are going as they should.
Now, we're seeing a lot of discussion around indirect prompt injection, not just from users, but from system to systems. Where everyone's focusing on automated, how do you think about these invisible handshakes between models, tools, or agents?
right? I mean, there are so many permutations of how information can be exchanged. It's really difficult to control for, but there are some common strategies. So one of them would be map out what agents are talking to what agents, what systems are talking to what systems, and what data is being exchanged. And then set up controls again to make sure that, again, that data that should have been exchanged is what's being sent out. So, for example, you're going to have maybe you have something where it takes in a request for a query to make a query, make sure it's a query that's being produced.
So anytime you talk about controls, we obviously move into governance and observability. Um, you've talked about how AI needs to be baked into the business environment that it operates into. What's the difference, in your perspective between governance and observability?
Yeah. Governance and observability, two best friends, right? So governance is the policy, it's the what should we do, it's the rules, it's the proactive control. And observability, make sure that what you set out as your plan is actually happening.
All right, a topic near and dear to my heart, and I know it has a special place in yours is vibe coding. So, this tools that feel intuitive, but they bypass basic security principles. How do you balance like the business need for empowerment and speed, while still keeping the control and environment that you need to have in place?
Right? Yes. I remember when I first heard about vibe coding and I thought, that's right, right? This
All
level
right,
of
let's go.
newfound power, right? And we do not want to be the dream killers, right, on the AI policy or AI COE team. Our job is to enable people in a safe way. And so the way I look at it is now we have a whole bunch of new coders and we have to think of it that way. The only interesting thing is it's not their full-time job. So you have to
Mhm.
make it easy for them to do those secured by design principles and also not onboard them like they're a level one developer because that's not their
Right.
full-time job. So you need to make sure you have things like education awareness, like training, very specific. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? Don't make it opaque, right? Then you need to have guardrails and like reusable components, right? So hardened container images, pre-built components. They shouldn't be setting up their own API gateway. Like we should have centralized systems for that. And guess what? Maybe that's all too much. So maybe you have a team that takes it actually to production. And then we need, when it's time to push that to production, we need strong CI/CD, right? So we need to make sure there are review processes, clear owners. So a lot of this is the basics we already do today, but now we have to make it even easier.
Time to look in the crystal ball for a second. So, 2 years from now, what are we going to look back and regret if you're not proactively doing around your agentic AI and cybersecurity?
So I feel like I'm the mom telling the kids to brush the teeth. Okay, so it's not exciting, but I'm saying the time for AI governance is now. And
Yeah.
listen, I know this because I lived through the big data boom where data moved from being on servers relatively contained to going to cloud and being everywhere. And before you know it, it's difficult to control. And then the regulations come in. So it's really important that now before AI goes everywhere, because that's the journey we're on, that you
Yeah.
get ahead of your AI governance, making sure you know what's out there, making sure you have your controls in place.
All right, let's go to a little bit of a lightning round. So, not everyone's an AI expert. If
Mhm.
someone wants to get smarter, build their skills, what's the one thing you'd have them do?
Try it.
So,
But I know that I'm
okay,
being
what's
so
say more? Try it.
yeah.
Try vibe coding. I want to go full circle for a sec.
Try vibe coding, try new models, try new tools, try different prompting techniques, try different applications of it. Try it. You don't know what to do? Ask AI. It'll tell you. Try it. Don't be scared. And guess what? Don't be scared because this turns over every 6 months. So if you feel like everyone else is an expert but you, start now. 6 months later, you're an expert.
Okay, yes, I'm going here. Life advice. Share words of wisdom, advice for a happy life.
All right. So I think in today's world, there's so much noise, opportunities, which is great, expectations, there's just so much that you can take in and care about. So my advice is know what matters to you personally and professionally, set your North Star on that, and don't let it fall from the top of your focus.
Thank you, everyone, for so much for attending our first Expert on Expert series. Laura, thank you so much again for your time as always. And we look forward to seeing you back next month and for our next event. See you then, everyone.